Hello everybody, I am doing this video in regard to something that's on my heart and an incident that still is kind of fresh news. And the video is entitled The Denied Stone because of my perspective in relation to this individual. And that's none other than Miss Traci Braxton. And for those who don't know, she just recently transitioned. Um, and she was 50 years old. And so, to me, in some senses, she was like a big sister, auntie in that group, age group, and in that, generation for me. Um, and so, for me, I will say I'm really doing this video because it's a lot of things about her life and the bits and pieces, small bits and pieces that I got the opportunity to be privy to, especially and namely through, her time with her sisters on the Braxton family values. And so, for starters, I would say her personality type. I relate to it, or it resonates with me, or I recognize it in a sort of reflection because according to the zodiac, and especially with me, I study it or have studied it a bit enough to recognize the energy. But according to the zodiac, she was an Aries. And what I know from my study about the Aries is that the Aries is actually the first sign in the zodiac. And so for me, where I saw her show up in that energy as the first or as the lead or as just kind of straight out the gate, in her personality, to me, she was very much so straight cut, very outspoken. Whatever she thought, she said. She didn't really have too much of filter in how she presented her words. She was very, very unfiltered, very straight, very much so that no one, and from my perspective, had to really guess what she felt. And I think for me, it was having seen her do in several of the episodes, she was on both sides of the end of the spectrum as far as expressing herself. She may have expressed, I've seen her express herself from a very loving perspective, and I've also seen her express herself from a very angry perspective. And both I respect because we both go through those feelings and emotions and have those things that we want to say. And, I just saw her be really vocal about how she felt, you know. But I would say for that aspect, I can relate to that because for me, I'm an Aries cusp Taurus. And so for me, I didn't recognize it in myself, that sort of, because of being the first or the in the sign of the zodiac, the Aries, they're also a cardinal sign, which a cardinal sign just means lead. That means they have a visionary, or they just kind of come right out of the gate with their ideas of what they think, and they present them, and then they just let them go and they go into something else. And so for me, recognizing that energy within myself, that's how I'm able to feel like somewhat, to a certain degree, I can relate to what I saw in her energy and how she moved. And for me, I would say the denied stone applies to her and her journey in certain senses because I did see her at times seem like she was crying out against a wall, and nobody was like, it was just like against a brick wall. And you know, as expressive and as fun loving as she came across, sometimes on the other side of it, it was like if she really felt a deep hurt or pain or emotion, no one around her, you know, to what we could see, especially from television. That's why I say it's a little bit express their ability to be able to understand exactly how she was feeling. I think maybe in a one perspective, she was sitting down and talking to her mom, and her mom said, she finally said, "Oh, well, I understand you." But I know from my own personal experience, living around energy and around people and growing up and feeling misunderstood or not feeling truly like I was truly seen, not just for what I could do, but for who I am, like my essence. Having felt like that And then at some points, having felt like I was being censored, even though maybe the who I was talking to, or what I was saying around who I was saying it, um, the people I was around, some of my words may have, I don't know if they called themselves being or trying to help me be more diplomatic or be more tasteful in my words. I don't know if that's how they felt about it, but for me it was very depressing at a certain stage in my life because I felt like from multiple different angles I didn't have this sort of acceptance just for me, my raw, uncut, unfiltered, unadulterated self. So I went through a period of depression and didn't know it until years later that I felt depressed. But part of it was because I felt like part of me was suppressed. So I say that to say, knowing that and having an understanding about it and kind of studying the science of emotions. I haven't studied, but I know enough about the science of emotions and feelings to know that those feelings don't just dissipate or disappear. They turn into something else. So they can turn into physical ailments and things in our body that we're sick and we don't know exactly why. But it's a emotional or mental illness that has translated into a physical ailment. And even for me, the bit that I do still subscribe to the Bible, and I grew up in church, so it was the King James Bible. That it was a scripture that says unforgiveness is rottenness to the bones. So learning that or knowing that in the sense of my own feeling or having carried unforgiveness in my body, in myself, I know the feeling of the weight of unforgiveness or bitterness or, just holding on to things that are unnecessary, and or just not having told people really how I felt. Some of it was that the weights that I was carrying was just really, I hadn't told some people how I really felt. And so just in the last few months for me, I know what has been freeing is making rounds to let certain people that I felt like I needed to let them know how I felt. Certain things I carried for years and years. Some stuff years and years, but some stuff just even brief period of time that I carried certain things. I'm quicker to forgive. I'm quicker to express my emotions about a thing and say, no, straight up, this is how I feel. I don't really hold it and let it linger long. If it's a feeling, especially if it's a feeling other than happiness or contentment or joy, I'm much more quick to express myself and say, no, I don't like that. Or that doesn't work for me. Whatever the thing is. And so I just know from that, we all have our different journey. We all have our different process, how we process things. But the way in which I would see her sometimes process things or express her emotions, I could relate to it, even though I may not go to 10 like she did, or sometimes I did see. I would say, I learned from her and I could respect her journey because it was like there was nothing left on the table. Like, I don't know how she really felt about me. I don't know if she liked me or she loved me or she hate me. I could see that from, like, once again, I would say the bit that I was privy to see, I could see that sort of energy in her. But who knows what else maybe she was holding on to or she had in her heart or her spirit or that she was grieved. I don't know. All I would say, one thing that did help me let go and move on and release was not only moving from around the energy that first made me feel those feelings or first fostered or nurtured those feelings of rejection, suppression, depression, eventually in me, moving away from the energy, from the place physically, the geography, that helped me in a major way. Because I'm very physically sensual and touch and sounds and what I see on a regular basis, those things affect me. I know they affect me. I can't speak for others and how they affect others, but I know those things help me to begin to heal and begin to recognize and begin to come around to a place of gratitude for all of my experiences. But it was not only that for me, but it was also monitoring my connections or communication with people who had nurtured those feelings in me, with people who had and who had not grown to the stage I've grown to now still have not grown to the stage I've grown to. Those people that I first heard those words of insecurity or those words of suppression or trying to muzzle in a sense, or in their, from what they did, it felt like I was being muzzled, what they said or how they treated me, not communicating with those people so much. Some of those people I still talk to here and there because they're part of my family or part of the bloodline connection that I grew up. So I understand where I saw her, she would try to fight for or try to keep relations with her sisters and her family. And for me being kind of, not I would say opposite of that, but taking a different approach into whereas some of the people in my family that I felt like fostered or nurtured those feelings in me or those insecurities in me, I don't talk to those people as much now. I still talk to them somewhat, but it's not nearly as much as I used to feel like I had to. And part of how I felt like reason why I felt like I had to keep close relationship was how I was nurtured and raised. And so for me, my responsibility was that, okay, wait a minute, is this working for me? Okay, so yeah, no. So I released myself of the mindset that told me I had to do that. That's more than anything, is releasing ourselves from a certain mindset that tells us we have to, whatever reason we feel like we have to keep close relationship with people, anything we feel like we have to do, getting to the root of why do we feel that way. And really, is that feeling actually serving us? Is it actually helping us to be productive in the world? And I found that that mindset in me of trying to do things or try to have family events and get everybody to come together, and even some of those people really didn't, I felt like, really accept me or my fullness for who I am. But I was fighting to keep relationship with those people. And part of my freedom and release was releasing the idea about what our relationship was or what it was supposed to be, and accepting the reality of what it is. And do I like the reality of what it is? Do I get anything from what it currently is? Does it serve me to the coulda, shoulda, woulda? Does that even serve me? And I found that it did not. So for me, moving on from that and moving through that and renewing my mind about that helped me to move out of the space of feeling like I was denied or unaccepted. And how I began to grow out of that space was from making the step from moving to Atlanta and moving to Atlanta from Virginia, and around from that energy. And what I learned also was about Southeast Virginia is that was the first, Jamestown was actually the first slave colony that was started. So some of that suppression and idea and mindset about being muzzled or being able to speak up for yourself, that energy still rests in that area. And so me moving from there was bigger than what I even knew at the time when I was taking the step. I just knew it was time to go for me. I couldn't tell anyone else what they should do or should not do. Still to this day, I don't speak that way. But I just know in that moment, what was for me to do was to make that step and move. And the freedom that I found and how I rediscovered my voice, and even more with more intensity and passion and fervor than what I had before my voice or my sound or who I am, before I ever felt like it was infiltrated or there was some sort of attempt to muzzle that. So I don't know what, like I said, once again, what all Miss Traci did in her journey as far as that goes. I just know that there's part of it in the leadership role of taking a step out and saying, I'm going, or I'm going to do it. And I'm not going to seek anybody's approval per se. I'll get wisdom about how to move, but not per se someone's approval of do they think I should do it or not. Moving that way and in certain aspects has really been freeing for me and helpful for me. And speaking everything I need to say to whoever I need to say it, when I need to say it. I moved out of the space of feeling like I was so denied or why, or trying to figure out why won't people accept me, or why don't people like me, or why don't, why am I not close to certain members of my family like I think we should be. I heard that mentioned to me in a recent conversation. It was like, yeah, I wish me and you could be close like we should be. Nah, that's not reality. Reality is what is it right now? So for me, accepting what it is right now, and from there deciding, do I want to participate in what it is right now? Do I want to yield my energy to are what the relationship is between us now? Do I want to yield my energy to that? Or if there is a relationship, to accept the reality of that, no, there's no real relationship here. So there's no need for my space and energy. There's no need for my energy or me contributing any of my precious energy to phone calls and text messages and all those sort of things. So yeah, that's just my perspective on that. And I'll say I respect Miss Tracy's journey for what she taught me about, just being herself and her raw and authentic self, and to see how I can relate to her. Because for me, I feel like I'm always looking at people's life, not just to gawk at it and stare or talk about it, but to, if I'm seeing it, it's something in there that I can draw from. It's something that I can relate to. Or there's a reason why I'm observing their journey, or I have a fascination of any sort. If I do, or feel any sort of connection to anyone's journey, there's something for me to gain from it and learn from it that I might eventually, share it, as I go on my journey. So anyway, that's it for this round. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.